What's up, fam? It's me, and I'm back with another short video on Undiluted TV. Um, and we're gonna get right into this because today I want to talk about and give my little 2 cents on Daniel Kaluuya and the statement that he made recently about race and about not wanting to be defined by his race. And he was quoted saying, "I'm just Daniel who happens to be black. I'm just Daniel who happens to be black." And for those of you who don't know who Daniel Kaluuya is, he's the guy that played the lead role in Get Out. He's the guy that played T'Challa's friend in Black Panther, and he's also the guy that played Slim in Queen and Slim. So, and he's set to play Fred Hampton. Yeah, he's set to play Fred Hampton in an upcoming biopic. So he's set to play um, the assassinated leader of the Black Panther movement, the Black Panther Party. So and we've had this conversation before. He's just the newest to come out with all of this rhetoric and all of this bullshit and trying to push this narrative. He's just the latest one to come out with it. But we've dealt with um, Cynthia Erivo and that whole slaughtering that they did of the Harriet Tubman story. We dealt with the chick that played Queen in the movie with him, and her coming out talking about how black men never made her feel beautiful and all of that, and now she's married to this white dude. We just had Lonnie Love come out with this thing about black men cheating and not knowing how to be faithful and all of that because of slavery and all of that. And she didn't decide to come out with all that until after she started dating a white dude. So we've got all of this. We've got all of this stuff going on, and a lot of it is coming from black immigrants. A lot of it are coming from black immigrants who have been handpicked over here in the United States to play these roles that are not being offered to foundational black Americans, roles who are not being offered to black American actors and actresses. And you got all of these immigrants and all of these folks from Nigeria and from Africa, and they coming through and from the Caribbean, and they're coming through the way of England, coming over here getting these roles. And now that he's gotten these roles, and he's gotten this certain amount of fame and this certain amount of recognition and all of this kind of stuff, now he wants to come out and he wants to make this statement about race and about blackness. So I want to go right into some of these articles and read for some of these articles about what Mr. Kaluuya had to say. And this first article that I'm reading from is Madame Noir. And this is January the 29th, 2020 by Sharice Frazier. Daniel Kaluuya doesn't want to be defined by race. I'm just Daniel, who happens to be black. So another one of those sounding like I'm just, I'm not black, I'm just OJ. And OJ found out, yeah, maybe you don't think you black. You understand what I'm saying? Maybe you don't identify as black. Maybe you aren't black first and don't realize that you're black first. But as far as we're concerned, in the dominant society and in this white supremacist system that's set up, all we see is that you black. You might not be black first, but as far as we're concerned, you're black first. And see, this is what a lot of these uh, foreign immigrants coming over here, these black immigrants coming over here, some of the homegrown coons that we got over here, a lot of the LGBTQ, this is what they think. I'm this, I'm an actor first, I'm gay first, I'm homosexual first, I'm transgender first, I'm this, I'm that first, and then, being black takes second or third or fourth or fifth place. But as far as the racist dominant society is concerned, you're black and you're black first. So this is what he had to say. Queen and Slim star Daniel Kaluuya gave a recent interview where he expressed that he wants to avoid being typecast and reduce the questions in regards to the topic of race. Okay, now he claims he wants to avoid being typecast, but yet just about every movie that you've played in the United States has had racial connotations. It's been about race. Even Black Panther was about this, this futuristic superhero world, centered around this fictitious African country and the power of blackness. Queen and Slim, well, it was about supposedly two Black Americans that were on the run because they had to kill a police officer in self-defense. You're about to take on playing Fred Hampton in a biopic, a foundational Black American icon, the leader of the Black Panther Party, probably the most substantial Black organization of modern times. But you don't want to be typecast based on your race. Get out. All about race. This is a quote from him. What is there to talk about? Race. The 30-year-old actor said in an interview with the Radio Times, according to The Guardian, it's just boring to me. So talking about race is boring to him. What's the debate? I'm more of a doer. I'm just going to do what I want to do. So race is not too boring for you to come over here from somewhere else and take all of these parts that foundational Black Americans can't get, and you can play the part of an African American man, a Black man in America, but race is boring to you. I'm not going to ignore that I'm surrounded by racism, racial issues, but I'm not defined by it, he continued. I'm just Daniel, who happens to be Black. So see, I'm Daniel first. I just happen to be Black. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not Black first. I'm not a Black man first whose name is Daniel, who just happens to be an actor. No. I'm Daniel first. I'm the actor first, and I just happen to be Black. And I just happen to not mind, playing all of these Black icons, all of these foundational Black American icons, but I don't want to talk about race. I don't want to be typecast because of my race. When your race is the reason why, when your Blackness is the reason why you're being handpicked for these particular roles. Why? Because you have a certain sentiment towards foundational Black Americans. You have no connection with foundational Black Americans. You have no connection with the Black experience in America. You have no connection with our history and our past, and as far as racism and discrimination and white supremacy is concerned. So you can spew this kind of nonsense, but still try to play us on the big screen. Still try to capitalize off of us, off of our pain, off of our suffering, off of what we've had to deal with here in the United States as far as racism and discrimination is concerned. You can still capitalize off of that, but you don't want to talk about race. You don't want to be defined by your race. And while the Windows and Get Out actor gained mainstream success in films that largely took the topic head on, he contends that his resume includes a variety of television shows and movies where the characters and narratives were not solely based on race. The Fads ain't about race. Psychoville ain't about race. Skins ain't about race. Chat Room ain't about race. Johnny English Reborn ain't about race. But that almost gets erased. There's a narrative that is pushed, he added. So those are names of maybe some movies. Those are, well, those they are. They're names of movies and television shows that he was a part of in Britain. But you got to remember, and we'll talk about this in a minute, you've got to remember the reason why he came here and started trying to get roles here in the United States. Aside from Get Out, Kaluuya's most recent feature, Queen and Slim, was heavily focused on being black in America and the trials and tribulations of two people whose relationship evolved into romance after killing a cop in self-defense. So you can play the role of an American, of a black American, dealing with the racial issues that we have to deal with. But you don't want to talk about race. Talking about race is boring to you. But you can play the role of a black American dealing with these racial issues. Yes, it's got those moments about race, but that's more of a catalyst, Kaluuya said. He said he was drawn more to the script because of the emphasis on this love story. So if he wanted to do a love story, then why didn't he do a love story? Why didn't he do a movie that was all about a love story if that's what he was drawn to? Why did he agree to take the role knowing that it involved a very serious racial issue that foundational black Americans are dealing with and have been dealing with in the United States for decades? Police brutality. Prior to Queen and Slim, the British actor starred in the Marvel blockbuster Black Panther, which reimagined a futuristic superhero world based out of the fictional African country of Wakanda. Kaluuya is also gearing up to star in a biopic about Fred Hampton, the Chicago-based assassinated leader of the Black Panther Party. Now you can keep on taking all of these roles that are about racism, all of these roles that are about race, all of these roles, you know, where you're acting as a black American, even though you don't understand and you can't identify with our history, you can't identify with our struggle, you can't identify with our lives here in America, but you just keep taking these roles. But then you don't want to talk about race because it's boring. You don't want to be defined by race. And see, the reason why they keep typecasting you and others like you, all these immigrant blacks, all of these people that can't share our experience, that can't identify with our experience, can't bring that level of energy to these different roles and these characters. The reason why they keep typecasting you for these parts is because you can't do it like we could. You can't bring that same energy. You can't bring that same spirit. You can't bring that same connection. So your performance on screen won't have the same impact as it would if a foundational black American was playing that part. See, you can't bring that same energy, so it's going to be washed down. It's going to be whitewashed. You know what I'm saying? You don't mind playing whatever role they put out there for you to play, even if it goes against history, even if it goes against the true historical account of what really happened. See, you don't mind because you have no connection. You have no connection to the culture. You have no connection with our ancestors. You have no connection with our leaders and our icons. So you can't bring that same energy. You can't have that same impact. And just like Cynthia Erivo was so willing to be a part of that whole farce in that Harriet Tubman movie where they almost tried to retell the history, this dude here, Daniel Kaluuya, would probably be the same way in this as playing Fred Hampton. Ain't no telling how they're going to try to change that up and retell the history of that. The movie will be directed by Black Panther's Ryan Coogler and will also star Kaluuya's Get Out co-star Lakeith Stanfield. I'm not a spokesperson. I'm an individual, he told The Guardian at the time. Who's the spokesperson for white people? There isn't one. No one's expected to speak up for all white people. I'm just living my life. I'm a black man. I'm proud of it, but I'm just living my life. So he makes it clear here, his problem is he doesn't want to be a part of the collective. He doesn't want to be looked at as a part of the collective. He doesn't want to be looked at as a foundational Black American or as an African American. He wants to be looked at as something different. He wants to be an individual. He wants to be separated from the collective, from the whole. He doesn't want to be expected to speak out and be a spokesperson for the Black collective and the Black community as a whole. He wants to be looked at as an individual and be allowed to just do his own thing. See, that's the problem with all of them. Tiffany Haddish said something along those same lines, I believe, on the Breakfast Club, is that she didn't want to be like a spokesman for the Black community. She just wanted to do her own thing. She wanted to just be a spokesperson for herself. See, that's the problem with these people. They don't care anything. Once they get that little bit of recognition, once they get that little bit of fame, once they realize that, they've done enough, they said enough to be handpicked by Hollywood and by the powers that be, they just want to be seen as individuals. They want to separate themselves from the rest of the Black community, especially the African American Black community. They want to separate themselves. And then it's just all about me. It's all about what I want to do. It's all about what I need. You understand what I'm saying? It's all about me doing and saying whatever I need to say and do to keep getting these butter biscuits, to keep getting these rolls. I don't want to be looked at as a part of the group or somebody who's going to speak out for the group. No, I want to separate myself. I'm an individual over here. I want to be separate from the group. I'm not interested in what's happening with the group. I'm not interested in what's going on with the group. I'm over here. I'm over here doing me. And if separate, the immigrants already, the Black immigrants already basically separate themselves from us and make it very, very clear when they get here that they're not a part of the African American culture, the Native Black American culture. They already make it clear, no, we're separate from them. We're different from them. They differentiate themselves from us. Although as far as the dominant society is concerned, as far as this white supremacist system is concerned, Black folks are Black folks. Allison Morrison let you know that just by her statements on MSNBC when Kobe died and the N-word popped up out of her mouth. Look at all the suspected white supremacists that, this man's body hasn't gotten cold yet. And not only that, this woman not only lost her husband, but she lost her child at the same time. And these people came out with absolutely no sympathy, no care whatsoever, and just immediately started attacking this man. That's how they feel about Black folks. And it don't make no difference where you come from. It don't make no difference how much money you got. It don't make no difference your achievements or anything else. They will let you know how they feel about Black folks. So just because you don't want to identify as Black, just because you want to identify as everything else before you identify as Black, they see you as Black first. And Daniel Kaluuya is now in place and now in line for his nigga wake up call. because he's making the statement that he thinks he needs to make, and he's coming on out and he's putting it on out there that he's not interested in what's going on in real African American culture. He's not interested in what's really going on as far as racial issues are concerned for real African American black, for native black Americans, for foundational black Americans. I'm not interested in your racial issues. I'm not interested in what's going on with you. I'm separating myself from you. Yeah, I'll take these roles. Yeah, I'll make this money. Yes, I'll capitalize off your pain, your suffering. I'll capitalize off your struggle. I'll continue to accept these roles and knock foundational black Americans out of the running because I've been handpicked. But now I'm letting the powers that be know that they handpicked me for a reason. I'm letting them know that I'm down with the program. I'm letting them know that I'm willing to push the narrative as long as they continue to give me these roles. As long as they continue to give me these butter biscuits. So now he has become a tool for white supremacy. Now that's all that they said in this article. But I want to go back to, since all of a sudden now he getting all of these roles, and he being handpicked for this and he being handpicked for that and all of this kind of stuff, and now all of a sudden he doesn't want to talk about race. Race is boring. He doesn't want to be defined by race. He doesn't want to be typecast according to race and all of that. See, that's what he's saying now. Now that, there's a little bit of fame behind his name. Now there's a little bit of recognition behind his name. Now he's been in a couple of blockbusters or whatever the case may be. But that's not what he's been saying all the time. So let's go to another article. And this article is coming out of Independent. .co.uk. This is a publication out of the UK. Daniel Kaluuya. I wasn't getting roles in England because of the color of my skin. So right there, all of a sudden now, since you're getting roles in the United States, and it doesn't seem like the color of your skin is hindering you or stopping you from getting these roles. As a matter of fact, you're being handpicked for these roles because you're black. Because you're a black immigrant, and because you're a black immigrant that's willing to come on out and let it be known that you have no solidarity with foundational black Americans. You have no connection, and no loyalty to foundational black Americans. Right? But now that now that you're getting these roles, and now that it doesn't seem that the color of your skin is hindering you or stopping anything, now all of a sudden you want to deny the color of your skin. You don't want to talk about race. You want to separate yourself. You want to separate yourself from the racial issues and the issues of race and racism and discrimination and all of that foundational black Americans go through. But you weren't saying that before you started getting handpicked for all of these roles. Get Out star recalled one instance where he went to an audition only to discover another actor had been given a coach to prepare for the role. This article is coming from Rosen O'Connor, January 12, 2020. Actor Daniel Kaluuya has said he works more in the U.S. after struggling to land roles in the U.K. due to the color of his skin. The Get Out star, whose new film Queen and Slim, spoke with the Sunday Times about his career to date. Asked why he works more in the U.S., Kaluuya said he used to audition for more roles in England, but became frustrated with producers apparent prejudice in favor of white actors. So see, this dude has dealt with racism. This dude has dealt with racism in the UK because for those of you who don't know, yes, the UK is very racist. They might try to cover it up a little bit more, but the UK is very racist. So he's dealt with racism. So he knows what racism and discrimination feels like. You understand what I'm saying? He knows what it feels like to be looked over and to be passed over because you're black and for white privilege to kick in. So that makes it even worse for him to come here and have the nerve to say that the discussion on race is boring. He doesn't want to talk about it. You understand what I'm saying? He doesn't want to be defined by race. When you've already been defined by it. You were defined by it in the UK. And you're making it clear here that you understood that the reason why you weren't getting these roles and the reason why you were being looked over is because you were black. I was going for a lot of stuff in England, the 30-year-old said, but I wasn't getting roles because of the color of my skin. It wasn't fair. It was a trap. But it's okay for you to come here and knock foundational black Americans out of these roles by going along with the narrative. By playing the white supremacy game. So it's okay for you to come here and knock African American, foundational black American actors and actresses out of these roles. It's okay for you to do that, but it wasn't okay for you to be discriminated against. It's okay for you to say that you don't want to talk about race now that you're being handpicked by white Hollywood and being given these roles. So it's okay for you to say, I don't want to talk about race. I don't want to be typecast because of race. I don't want to be defined by my race. But you weren't saying that when you were being discriminated against in the UK. For example, I went up for this show. It was 10 rounds of auditions. There was me and a white guy for the lead. It was about aliens. And I realized as I was going to one audition that the other guy had been given an acting coach. They didn't love me like they loved him. So I guess now, since he's over here in the United States and is being handpicked for all of these roles, I guess he feels like they love him. So, I guess maybe that need to be loved, that need to be accepted by the dominant society, I guess over here, he feels like that's being fulfilled. And he's getting the love and the acceptance from the dominant society that he didn't get in the UK. He continued, in any other profession, that would be weird, but it was accepted in mine. It happened a few times, and I went, no, I'm not an idiot. So yes, of course, he knew he was being discriminated against. And he knew he was being discriminated against because of the color of his skin. But that was okay over there. It was okay for him to have the issue with it there. But now that he's here and he doesn't feel like he's being faced with that particular issue. He knows he's not because he's being handpicked for all of these roles that African American actors, foundational black American actors are not being offered, aren't getting. So now I guess he feels like since they didn't love him over there, or they didn't love him as much as they loved the white guy over there, I guess now he feels like over here they love him more than they love the white guy. Kaluuya's comments come amid a backlash surrounding the 2020 BAFTAs after it emerged that not a single non-white actor had been nominated at this year's ceremony. Among the stars snubbed despite collecting awards and nominations in other ceremonies this year were Jennifer Lopez for Hustlers, Eddie Murphy for Dolomite Is My Name, Lupita Nyong'o for Us, Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory, and Cynthia Erivo for Harriet. Kaluuya, who grew up on an estate in Kentish Town, London, also suggested that it is confusing to people in the US because Americans are used to being sold British exports such as Downtown Abbey and The Crown. I don't know exactly what that's supposed to mean. That story of coming from an estate isn't sold. It isn't sold internationally. They only sell Downtown Abbey. No. I missed the part. There's brand Britain, so there's an awareness that I'm British, but they don't know me. I'm just seen as privileged because I have an English accent. No, you're not. You're not seen as privileged because you have an English accent. No, we don't consider you privileged. We know exactly what's going on. We know that there's no privilege there. We know that the only reason why they're casting you and not foundational Black Americans is because you're willing to say the same bullshit that you didn't come out and say it. That race is boring. That you don't want to be defined by your race. That you want to be separate. You want to separate yourself from the collective, from the whole. That you're not interested in what's going on with the racial issues and the racial tensions and the racial history and all of that of other foundational Black Americans. You're not interested in that. You're interested in, yes, capitalizing off of that. But you don't want to be looked at as a spokesperson. You don't want anybody, especially nobody in the dominant society, to think that there's ever going to come a time when you're going to step out and you're going to start speaking out against the racism here in the United States. You want to make sure that they understand that you pose no threat in that area. That you're not trying to be a spokesman. That you're not trying to speak for the collective. That you only out to look after you. So no, we don't think you privileged just because you British or because you have a British accent. We don't think you privileged. We know exactly what's going on. Obviously, you the one don't know what's going on. Obviously, you aren't paying enough of attention. Because if you knew what was going on and if you were paying attention, you wouldn't take these roles. You certainly would not have come up out of your mouth to say that kind of foolishness about talking about racism and race is boring. And you would understand that once you allow yourself to become a tool of white supremacy, you put yourself in line to be broken like all the rest of their tools. So no, we understand. We don't see you as privileged. Anyway, there's brand Britain. So there's an awareness that I'm British, but they don't know me. I'm just seen as privileged because I have an English accent, he said. That story of coming from an estate isn't sold. It isn't sold internationally. They only sell Downtown Abbey. What was being sent abroad was a certain brand of Britain that maybe is what Americans want it to be. Then someone goes to London and realizes it's similar to New York, but that story is not sold. I don't know what he's talking about. Kaluuya was nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars, Golden Globes, BAFTAs, and Screen Actors Guild Awards for his performance in Get Out. Among his forthcoming projects are Queen and Slim, a film about a Black couple who go on the run after shooting a police officer in self-defense, and a currently untitled movie about murdered activist Fred Hampton. So again, you came here because of discrimination, because of racism, because you were being looked over and you were being passed over because you were Black. And white privilege was keeping you behind. So you come here, and now that you've come here, now that you've put it out there, that you're willing to go along with the program, you're willing to push the narratives or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Now that you're being handpicked for all of these roles, now you really want to come out and you really want to let everybody know what it's really all about. And that is, you want to make it clear to the dominant society, to the powers that be, that you're not going to pose any threat. That you're not going to all of a sudden raise up and decide that you're going to start being an activist, and you're not all of a sudden going to start speaking out on racial issues, and you're not going to all of a sudden start speaking out on the discrimination and all of this kind of stuff. You're trying to make it very, very clear to the powers that be that they don't have to worry about you, that you're not interested in what's going on in the black community. You're not interested in their racial issues. You don't identify with foundational black Americans. You don't identify with their racial issues. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to be a part of the conversation. You just want to be over here in your corner doing your own thing, eating your butter biscuits. That's what this statement is for. Because there's absolutely nothing boring about the issue of race. Because if there was something boring about the issue of race, then why do you keep taking all of these roles that specifically go to the issue of race? There's no way that you can play Fred Hampton and it not go to the issue of race. Unless, of course, they're about to try to rewrite that history as well. You understand what I'm saying? And since he has no connection, since he doesn't share our experience, he doesn't share our connection, he doesn't share the connection with our ancestors and with our icons and all of that, that'll be fine with him. Just like I said, just like it was fine with Cynthia Erivo for them to just, try to rewrite the whole history of Harriet Tubman. But understand, that's the only reason why he came out with this statement about he don't want to be defined about race. You know what I'm saying? And I'm Daniel, who happens to be black. I'm a black man and I'm proud, but I just want to live my life. Without realizing that once you interject that but, what you're saying is you're negating everything that you said that came before that but. So if you're just proud of being a black man, then why did there have to be a but? Why do you have to come out and make a public statement that you're tired of talking about race, that you're bored with the conversation about race, that you're not trying to be a spokesman, that you are an individual, that you see yourself as Daniel and as an actor and all of this before you see yourself as black? Why did you have to come out and make a public statement like that? It's because you letting the powers that be know I'm no threat. I'm no threat. You ain't got to worry about me coming out as no kind of racial activist. You ain't got to worry about me coming out speaking on none of the racial issues and none of the racial tensions or none of the social injustice issues or whatever that the foundational black American community is dealing with. You ain't got to worry about me coming out doing none of that. You ain't got to worry about me joining with the collective and supporting this and supporting that and supporting this black empowerment movement or whatever. You ain't got to worry about me doing none of that. I am drawing my line in the sand and I'm taking sides. And I have taken the side with white supremacy. I have taken the side that's going to keep me getting these roles and keep me getting these butter biscuits. I have officially come out as a bootlick of white supremacy. I have officially come out. And let it be known that just because I'm taking these roles and just because I'm willing to play these people and I'm willing, to play like an African American or to play the part of a foundational black American, I'm letting you know that I have no connection with them. I feel no kind of sympathy, no kind of empathy, nothing with them. These are just roles for me. If you're willing to keep giving them to me, I'm willing to keep taking them. And I'll do whatever you need me to do. I'll say whatever you need me to say. So that I don't have to go back to England and deal with the racism that I had to deal with there. See, that's what it's all about. I don't want to go back to England and have to deal with the racism that I dealt with there. I don't want to have to go back over there and struggle to try to get roles, while white privilege beat me out every time. So now that I'm here and I don't have to deal with that, I'll do whatever I need to do. I'll say whatever I need to say to let the powers that be in Hollywood or where else know that I'm not a threat. I'm not a threat. I'm just willing to play these roles. I'm not willing to bring any special energy to them. I'm not willing to do anything to help these roles have any kind of real impact in anybody's life. You know, if you want to switch up the history and if you want to change up the story, that's fine with me. I'll still play the role. Because I feel no connection with these foundational Black American people. And I'm letting you know that. So I'm separating myself from them. And all of this about do white people have, you know, one person that comes out and speaks for all white people? They don't need to. They have a whole system that speaks for them. They have a whole system that protects them. They have a whole system that gives them all the privilege that they need. They don't need any one person to come out and speak for them when they have a whole system that keeps them covered. So this is my suggestion. This is what we need to do. We need to take it even further with this guy than we did with Cynthia Erivo. You understand what I'm saying? This is what we need to do with him. Not only do we need to boycott this movie that's coming up, this biopic that's coming up, where he's supposed to be playing Fred Hampton. Not only do we need to boycott that movie, but we need to boycott him, period. We need to start a mute Daniel K movement, just like they had a mute R. Kelly movement. We need to mute him now. Because it's our responsibility. It's up to us to call him out. It's up to us to deal with him. It's up to us to let him and everybody else know it's not cool for you to come in and capitalize off of our struggle, off of our suffering, and make it clear that you have no empathy, that you have no sympathy, that you're not interested in what we're really going through, that you're not really interested in our struggle. You're just going to capitalize off of it. You're just going to use it to better yourself. You're just going to use us to better yourself so that you don't have to go back to England and deal with that same type of racism. So now since you're here and you feel like you don't have to deal with it, now that you're here and you feel like the dominant society finally loves you more than they love that white person, and they finally accept you, you don't want to get that up. So you're willing to throw us under the bus. So we need to boycott this dude. We need to boycott him, and we need to boycott all those like him. Whether they be immigrants or whether they be homegrown coons, we need to boycott all of them. We need to call them out and we need to boycott them. We don't need to listen to their music. We don't need to go see their movies. We don't need to have anything to do with them. Foundation of Black American Society needs to let these folks know that if you're not with us, that we're no longer with you. If you're not supporting us, we're no longer supporting you. If you're not looking after us, we're no longer looking after you. And he has made it clear he has no intention of looking after us. He has made it clear that he's going to do the same thing that all these other groups do and that all these other immigrants feel like they can do. I'm going to come, I'm going to sit, and I'm going to eat at your table, and I'm going to get fat. But what happens to you, what affects you, I'm not going to allow it to affect me. I'm going to separate myself from you. I'm going to only be black when it benefits me to be black. So I just wanted to bring y'all my take on this and let you know that he's just come on out and he's just made it clear. Those words that he said were not for us. Those words were for the powers that be. Those words were for the white supremacists in Hollywood. Those words were for that system that's rewarding him. And somebody let him know that it was time for him to go on out and speak on certain things and let his position be known. And that's what he has done. He has, like I said, he has drawn the line in the sand and he has let it be known that he's on the side of white supremacy. Well, if you're on the side of white supremacy, if you're on the side of this system or whatever, then you're automatically against us. So that's what he has done. He has come out and let us know in no uncertain terms that he's against us. He's not against making money off of us. He's not against capitalizing off of us. He's not against taking food out of our mouths to feed himself. But there's no need for anybody to expect, he's making it clear, there's no need for anybody to ever expect him to make any kind of statement, you understand what I'm saying, or for him to say or do anything in support of foundational Black Americans and our struggle against racism, white supremacy, discrimination. He's made it clear he's not going to do that because he does not want to be looked at as a spokesperson for the Black community. So since he's made it clear that we don't have his support in any situation, then we need to make it clear that he doesn't have ours. That he doesn't have our support as an actor. He doesn't have our support in any of his movies. He just doesn't have our support at all. So we need to make sure that we boycott that biopic that he's got coming out, talking about where he's going to play Fred Hampton. We need to make sure that we boycott that, and we need to boycott anything else that they put him in. That's what we need to do. That's what it's going to take. It's time for us to show these folks, whether they be immigrant or whether they be homegrown. It's time for us to show these puppets of white supremacy that we're not dealing with it anymore, that we're not giving people any passes anymore. That when you come out and make it clear that we don't have your support, then we have to reciprocate by making it clear to you that you don't have ours. It's just that simple. And that's what he's done. He's made it clear. He has made his statement and made it clear that we don't have his support in dealing with anything that we as foundational Black Americans deal with here in the United States. Because in the United States, he has found what he couldn't get in the UK. He has found what he thinks is that love and that acceptance from the dominant society. And he's willing to sell out whoever he needs to sell out so that he can hold on to that. Because remember, his words were, for example, I went up for this show. It was 10 rounds of auditions. There was me and a white guy for the lead. It was about aliens. And I realized as I was going to one audition that the other guy had been given an acting coach. They didn't love me like they loved him. So he feels like here, he's getting that love. He's getting that acceptance from the dominant society. So we need to let him go on and have his love and his acceptance from the dominant society. And we need to let him know, okay, well, just like you don't need us, we don't need you. Just like you've made it clear that we cannot expect any level of support from you as far as racial issues are concerned, or social injustices are concerned, or whatever. You've made it clear that you're not going to speak out on anything because you're bored with the talk of race. You don't want to be looked at as a spokesperson. So that's you making it clear that you're not going to ever make any kind of statement or anything in support of anything that has to do with what's going on as far as racially with the foundational Black American community. You've made it clear that you're not going to speak on it, that you're not going to show any level of support. So since you've made it clear that you don't show any support for us, we got to make sure that we show absolutely no support for you. It's time for us to do whatever we need to do to send you right back to England. Since all of a sudden you want to try to forget race. Since all of a sudden you want to try to walk around and act like race don't exist. Like you can avoid it. Like you can ignore it. While you make money off of racially focused movies. Now, of course, these two articles will be linked in the description box. I'm sure there are other articles out there where he talks about this, maybe where they go more in depth with it or whatever. But the man said what he said. He said what he said, and he meant what he said. And he has drawn his line in the sand. See, that's what we as foundational Black Americans, that's what we've got to stop doing. We've got to stop giving these folks a pass. Whether they be black or whether they be white, we've got to stop giving them a pass for the things that they say and the things that they do that are detrimental to us. We got to stop giving out all these passes. We got to stop continuing to support people that have made it clear that we don't have their support. And we've definitely got to stop dealing with these black folks, whether they be black immigrants or whether they be foundational Black Americans. We've got to stop dealing with these black folks that are only interested in what benefits them. They have no concern for us as a collective. They have no concern for us as a whole. All they're interested in is me, 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 me. That's the reason why we're in the shape that we're in now. Because too many that came before us were only interested in benefiting for themselves. They were only interested in doing what was best for them. So they led us into hell and left us there. So we got to stop this. We got to stop it. We got to stop supporting these folks. We've got to stop giving these folks these passes. And we got to call these folks out, whether they be black, whether they be white, whether they be black, whether they be non-white. We've got to stop thinking that we can form coalitions with these folks. Because these folks ain't interested in forming no coalitions with us. These folks are making it clear that, yes, they will capitalize off of us. They will eat at our table. They will take what, they can get from us or whatever. But when it comes to support, when it comes to being there to fight for us or to speak for us or whatever, they're making it clear they're just not going to do it. He's making it clear. Yes, I may have a big platform now. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, I may be famous. Yes, I may have this recognition, but I'm not going to use any of it to speak out on any racial issues. He's making that clear. So we got to stop. That's part of the reason why we're in the shape that we're in now, is because we've handed out too many passes. We've done too much forgiving. We've allowed folks to do this to us over and over and over again. They come, they eat off our table, then they just, they just disregard us until they need us for something else or until they want to come back and eat at the table again. So it's time to let him know, just like we let Cynthia Erivo and some others know, okay, you said it. You said it. We didn't. You drew the sand, the line in the sand. You drew that line. You decided what side you were going to choose and what side you were going to stand on. So all we going to do is support the decision that you made because you made the decision. So I think we ought to start a Mute Daniel K movement. We definitely need to start a Mute Daniel. We definitely need to boycott him. We need to boycott anything else that he's a part of. No matter what movie it is, no matter how enticing it might look, or whatever the case may be. We need to boycott anything else that he's involved in. We need to mute him. So again, these articles will be listed in the description box. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Please hit that bell notification so that you can be notified when we upload videos. Like I said, the links to these articles will be in the description box. Like I said, I'm sure there are other articles where you can read and maybe some go more in depth or whatever. But like I said, the man said what he said. He said it. So all we can do is just take him at his word and move on. Move on. It's time to just let them go. Like I said, some of them want to stay on the plantation. You got to leave them on the plantation because the freedom train is moving. And if you stand there too long trying to pull them off and trying to make them decide that they're going to leave the plantation or whatever, then you're going to miss the train yourself. So, he has decided that the plantation is where he wants to be. So we're going to leave him on there and we're going to move on. Same way we had to leave Lizzo. Same way we had to leave Oprah. Same way we've had to leave so many. We're going to have to leave him there and we're just going to have to move on. We got to do it. If you'd like to support the channel, the PayPal, the link to the PayPal for the channel is in the description box, of course, if that's what you want to do. But please, we got to do it. We got to stay on code. And staying on code is putting these folks out here. You need to know what these folks really think. You need to know how they really feel. When they let you know, this is how I really feel. Accept that. And we've got to stop supporting people that don't support us. We've got to stop carrying the weight of every other group and everybody else on our backs. Everybody got their foot, everybody resting their ass on our back. And it's keeping us down. No, it's time for us to stand up. Because when we stand up, when we stand up, everybody's feet and their asses and everything else have to get off our back. So it's time for us to stand up. And once we stand, it's time for us to stay in a standing position. And letting people know you can't ride our backs no more. But yeah, it's time to mute Daniel K. Like I said, they was big for this mute R. Kelly. Okay, well, it's time for us to mute Daniel K. and the rest of these folks. It's time for us to mute them. It's time for us to boycott and let them know, okay, you don't want to be a part of it. All right, then you're not a part of it. You're making it clear that you don't want to be a part of our society. You don't want to be a part of what we got going on. You don't support us. Okay, then don't be a part of it. But you're not going to run in and out, in and out, in and out. You're not going to use us anymore. You're not going to take advantage of us anymore. You're not going to capitalize off of our struggle anymore. You're not going to eat butter biscuits off of our suffering anymore. So you guys have a good day. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.